It's day 6 of the Botanical Watercolor Challenge. Let's figure out what we're gonna paint today. No peeking. Oh, let's do this. I think I used to, prayer plant. I have a prayer plant, yay. Okay, we're gonna get our colors all wet and ready to go. And if we look at these, let's just start with the green. I see at least 3 types of colors that I want to get ready to make sure that they match. The lightest one, I believe, is this green gold. That'll be our lightest value that we will start with. So we're going to get that going. There we go. I want to make sure I have enough of it because that will be our base with watercolor. I try to, for the most part, start from light to dark. So you can just build, build, build. And so this will be the first layer of our leaf. Second color I see is like a sap green. And we will get this on the palette to see if, in fact, yeah, I think that's pretty good, sap green. Okay. Get that going. And then this darker color is, I think more sap green, but what we're gonna do is deepen it by adding some indigo to make this kind of really pop. The contrast between the green gold and this darker green color is going to be really nice, and we'll show those kind of that contrast. Okay, so we are ready to go with these 3 colors to start the base of our leaf. So let's get into this right away. If I can find my brush, I'm using a 12 round. Like I have been for a lot of these challenges. It's kind of like my go-to. We're going to start with the basic shape. And I can always go back on this shape, but I'm just trying to get something down right now. Add some water. And for this leaf, we are going to do wet on dry. I don't need all the blending. There's a little bit more definition happening. And these are decisions you make by looking at your reference photo. Like you make the decisions, is it mixy-matchy or is it more defined lines? And I've made the decision, you could make a different one, to not do wet on wet because I feel in the reference photo, the lines are very defined. And I want to get, I feel like I get a better representation of what this prayer plant looks like if I do wet on dry. So literally, that's it. We're going to set it and forget it and wait for it to dry to do the second coat. So this is all dried up. Now we're going to do the next layer. You would think we would do this dark one first, but no. We need to get this sap green. So we're going, again, working light from dark. We're going to try to get sap green. One of the things I need to do before we do all this is I need to establish our midline. That's going to help guide, and I'm going to just use a white gel pen that you're not going to be able to see, but will help me guide where my center line is. That'll be covered up in the end, so I'm not as worried about it. So what I'm going to do, oh, this is scary, is start by drawing this kind of ragged edge, and I'm not as concerned as if it matches the same, but more like, am I getting that kind of raggedy looking edge? And when I have that, I feel good about that. I'm gonna just fill it in being delicate. This is a delicate process, which I'm not, it's not my strong suit to be a careful painter per se, but that's what this challenge is all about. It's like, what skills can I use? And I'm going right to the edge, but being careful, and sorry, not careful, but mindful to leave some of that green gold underneath, because you see in here, it isn't green gold except for in the middle. And so you want to have some of that peekabooing through intermittently. So I'm going to keep going, keep moving along. This is why it's important for these kind of more delicate pieces to have 100% cotton, because you have more time than like a cellulose or other type of not fully cotton paper to really play with the area before it gets totally dry. I think I would struggle more if this was like a cellulose, because I'd be rushing a little bit more. I mean, already I feel like I'm rushing to get some of this in. But here's the thing. I'm learning, and we're just going to take it at face value for that. And that's why I am using a 12 round brush. However, it has a really nice tip, because I'm actually, almost dropped my watercolor brush. I'm using the tip for those fine details to get those like swoopy lines. And to have that green gold peek through. So I'm pretty satisfied with that side. Let's continue to refine, refine, refine. And again, remember, this is just the second layer. We still have to do that darker green that I did sap green and indigo on. But now I'm just kind of feathering a little bit to make sure that we have that there. I'm pretty satisfied with that side. Yay. And I'm going to continue futz, even though I shouldn't. Okay, we're going to leave that, and then we're going to work on the other side. I'm going to speed it up only because it's going to be the same process, and this is a little bit tedious. Everything's dry. Our second layer is dry, so now we're going to do our third and maybe final coat of watercolor using this darker kind of forest green. Hindsight, I could have done a little bit of wet and wet here, but I was a little scared, to be honest, because I still have a lot to learn in terms of water control. And when in doubt, for something like precise like this, I just am going to lean into the wet on dry. Just like anything, if I were to practice this leaf over and over again, I would totally get better, feel a lot more confident. But because this is a 30-day botanical challenge, I'm literally, well, for the most part, minus the tomato that we did, it's like my first time painting some of these subjects. So I'm learning it as I go, and I'm making decisions in the moment. And that's kind of what the challenge is all about. It's like exposing me to things that I wouldn't normally pick as a subject matter, to then learn different ways to see pictures and how I would translate that in watercolor. So using different tools, using different techniques, using different kind of ways of working with timing and everything. So that's really what this a challenge should be. It's something you normally wouldn't do. It's getting outside your comfort zone, which I feel so far for this has worked, because there's some things like I would have never chosen to paint, either because I thought they were too complex, too boring, just not interested in it, which is okay too. But yeah. Okay, so yay, I really like how this is turning out. Like I said, the wet on wet would have given me a nicer blending right here, but I'm really okay with this, and I'm going to take creative license, because it's my piece of paper, and move the paper. I feel I can get a better swoosh, a better feel, because I am right-handed. It feels better for me to pull, and that's another thing that you get to do when you're making your own stuff, is you move the paper around, tilt it, draw it upside down, do whatever you want that feels good to you, so you can get the best angles and strokes for the picture. Guess whatever you need. I mean, there's really no rules with this, so yay. One thing I did notice, again, I love looking at pictures. The first swath at a picture, you see things, but as you're continuing to look at this reference photo, I'm noticing things I didn't notice the first time, and I'm noticing that there are some additional kind of lemon yellow lines in this middle part, and we're going to attempt to get some of them in there. Now, normally you go light to dark, and we are actually going to try to attempt to paint some light color on top of a technically darker color, but I'm going to try it out and see if we can get some, really it's about texture rather than the color, to understand this is not, the middle part is not flat, there's still texture in there, and I think that's what those lemon yellow lines are saying to your eye. It's that, hey, there's a lot of things going on here. Okay, I really like this. It's coming together, and see how having that really pointy tip in the for the end part is really helpful. It helps kind of make everything flow nicely. There, I think we're gonna call it. Watch me not call it. Yeah, I have to judge a little bit. I like to have this a little bit more scratchy rather than perfect. There we go. Okay, we're gonna do the lemon yellow next, and then do the pink. So everything's dry, and I have my lemon yellow here. We are gonna attempt to paint lemon yellow over green gold. Not sure how well it will do, but I have my tiniest brush available to me, and I wanna get it really pigmented, but then dry it off on my napkin here. And I'm just gonna see, it might be terrible, but we're gonna do it anyway for the sake of and these are, if I'm looking, these are pretty evenly spaced apart, so I'm okay with doing them. I mean, you're barely gonna see them, and it hasn't even dried yet, so I'm not going to be as particular. People aren't going to be looking at this yellow, but it adds to the texture. And again, moving my sheet. So it like I said, no one will first look at these yellow lines. We still have that kind of opera rose, pinkish, neon pink to go. So that's where they're going to look in some of these darker values. But this is just that background filler. A tiny detail that can sometimes make all the difference in terms of really filling in what's needed for us to understand kind of what we're looking at. So no regrets. Glad we put that in there. Now we will let this dry and do the final fun lines, which are these pink veins. Okay, so now we have the final decision points. We have this bright pink opera rose that goes on top of everything, and a watercolor opera rose will not work. So you have a couple choices. You can use gouache, you can use acrylic, you can use jelly pens. I have made the decision to use acrylic pens. I really like this pink color that Posca puts out. So we are going to finish it off with that. And I'm nervous, but everything will be okay, right? And as I get to the top, I'm lightening up, there. First step done. Now, same thing. It's thicker towards the middle of the vein and then lighter as we go up. Oh, this is so scary. And I gotta go with it, right? No hesitation, no hesitation. Little one there. The more you hesitate, the more strange things start to look. I'm going totally off script now. I'm not even looking at the reference photo. Yikes, that was so scary. That was so scary. I even feel like could go a little bit thicker, but at this point, it's wet and I'm not gonna mess with it. And it looks like they don't quite connect, so it is not symmetrical. There we go. There's a couple little ones in here. So scary. And then okay, we're gonna go with it. This is what we have. I could go in and thicken it up more. I'm gonna sit with this and see if I wanna do that more. Let me just experiment with thickening up one to see if I like it. Okay, yep, we can thicken this up without completely ruining it. And by thicken it up, I mean thicken up where that vein meets the middle, just to really emphasize shape, like how it would naturally be. Usually veins, just like a stem, where it connects is usually a little bit thicker. So we're just going to go over that. And I am happy I made that decision. It really makes it a little bit more bold and center, because that's really, prayer plants are so cool with these kind of reddish, pinkish veins. I mean, the cool part is that they fold up, but in terms of when they're open, the color is just those, that contrast with the pinkish and the green is really stunning in my opinion. Okay, there we have it. Yay, let's let everything dry. Okay, here's the prayer plant, day 6, and here's what I came up with. Not too bad for my first try at it, hey?